What is going on, and welcome back to another episode of I Coach Nutrition Radio. Today's topic, we are going to dive into stress. Now, stress can be good and stress can be bad. And we're going to talk all about how to find your sweet spot, right? So too little stress keeps you from reaching your potential, and too much stress can actually harm your health, right? And so there's this graph, if you will, right? Less stress, right? This leads to decreased performance, right? You're so bored, right? And then on the other end of it, more stress, right? This can lead to kind of crash and burn. And so in between, it's kind of this continuation, this curve, if you will, of I'm so bored, starting to get my attention, I'm rocking it, I'm starting to freak out, crash and burn. All right. So the difference between good and bad stress, all right, we're going to start to get into this here. So stressors, from work deadlines to raising kids to workouts, they aren't intrinsically good or bad, right? And your response is unique each time, right? So if we start to look into positive responses versus negative responses, here's examples of positive responses: inspired, energized, motivated, focused and alert, explore edges of your comfort zone, balance stress, rest, recovery, learn, grow, get stronger. Those are all positive responses to stress. Negative responses to stress would be weak, worried, demoralized, distracted and scattered, right? Don't challenge yourself, not enough rest or recovery, cortisol and adrenaline go up, possible muscle loss, fat gain, right? And then blood sugar, immunity, metabolic, sleep, sex hormones disrupted. All right, so how do you handle stress? Right, here's some factors that are intrinsic, right? But most you actually have control over. All right, so there's two types of people. There's more stress tolerant people and there's less stress tolerant people. Now, things like genetics, history, right? These are permanent. And as you start to get into things like your attitude, your coping ability, right? Your support network, right? Your environment, your current stress load, all of these things can be shaped and they can be built. So characteristics of more stress tolerant people, right? They're stress resistant, right? They're practiced at handling stress, right? They typically have a moderate stress load, right? They're often outdoors in nature. They spend time with loved ones. They have a strong support network, right? They know how to calm themselves when emotional, right? They go with the flow. They're optimistic. They're proactive. They're confident. They're agile. They view stress as a challenge to rise to. Now, less stress tolerant people are more stress prone, right? They have little practice with stress. They either have very high stress load or very low stress load. They are often in clinical or industrial spaces. They have little time with loved ones. They have a weak support network. They're overwhelmed by emotions. They have trouble adapting. They're pessimistic. They're reactionary. They're not confident. They're paralyzed. They view stress as a problem to avoid. So, are you in your stress sweet spot, right? How do you know, right? So when we think about stress being too low, some of the characteristics here are going to be you're lethargic, you're bored, you're unfocused, you're directionless, you're purposeless, right? When your stress is just right, you're energized, you're engaged and interested, you're actively moving towards your goals, you're learning and you're growing. And when stress is too high, you're anxious or obsessive, you're depressed, you're panicked or flailing, you're stuck or you're numb. So how do we reach your potential without crashing and burning? So for some inspiration and energy, right? There's four things. You need to set effective goals. Goals that motivate are specific and measurable. They're challenging but realistic. They're broken down into small actions. They focus on process versus outcome. They're documented as a plan of daily, weekly, monthly behaviors. So that's number one. Number two, start with one action each day. Commit to do it for the next 2 weeks. Be sure it's something you are confident you can do every day. Number 3, track your progress. Document behaviors, processes, and outcomes. How do you feel different? How do you look different? What have you learned? What are you proud of? What frustrations did you have? And number 4, spend time with a coach or a mentor, right? So getting help with someone you admire and who will hold you accountable makes the process of change and growth so much easier. All right, so how do we rest and recover, right? A few different ways here. Number 1, you need to practice what we call parasympathetic activities, right? There is the autonomic nervous system, and it's broken down into your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic stressors, sympathetic nervous system, that is known as fight or flight mode. Your parasympathetic nervous system, that is known as rest and digest, okay? Another way to think about that is the sympathetic nervous system, that's everything in your life that's stressing you out. The parasympathetic nervous system, that's everything that you're doing to combat that stress, everything that makes you happy, everything that helps you to relieve stress. So you need to practice parasympathetic activities. Here's some examples. Going for a walk outside, getting moderate sun exposure, enjoying nature, listening to low-key music, getting a massage, deep breathing, laughing, snuggling with a loved one or a pet, yoga, slow stretching, easy swimming, hot tub or sauna, having sex, non-competitive play, mindfulness or meditation, and drinking green tea, okay? And if you think to yourself, the phones, right, or the laptops or the computers or the iPads, whatever, screen time is actually stimulating, right? So it doesn't help you, right? It's actually a sympathetic stressor. All right, number 2, meditation. Meditation boosts the immune system. It improves your sleep, your mood, and emotional regulation, circadian rhythm. It lowers your blood pressure, your heart rate, your stress hormones, inflammation. It supports the development of new brain cells, neural connections, and gray matter. It sharpens focus, mental clarity, attention, memory, and recall, even when not meditating. So those are all kind of benefits there of meditation. Number 3, get outside, right? Being in nature lowers stress hormones and heart rate and improves mood and immunity. Right? It gives you motivation and energy to cope with your next challenge. Number 4, you need to balance your exercise routine, right? So exercise relieves stress by increasing blood flow, getting you outside, burning calories, stimulating your parasympathetic nervous system. The most effective is a mix of intense strength training, conditioning, cardio, and low intensity recovery. So when stresses are up, decrease intense exercise. And when they are down, increase intense exercise. And last but not least, number 5, practice self-compassion. As I always say, you got to know when to give yourself grace and you got to know when to push yourself. All right. So when we talk about practicing self-compassion, you need to ask for help / support when you need it. You need to get coached if you feel stuck. You need to get counseling if you feel helpless. You need to know your limits. You need to honor them. And you need to unplug at least once a week. All right. So stress, look, we all have it. We all deal with it. It all affects us, right? But ultimately, having some strategies around stress, having some awareness around how stress affects you, right? Your current state of stress, right? Sometimes people don't even know that they're stressed, right? So really starting to understand this, awareness precedes change, the more you know, right? And really starting to think to yourself, if I'm stressed, if I feel stressed, right? A great activity here for you would to do this. Get a piece of paper and draw a T-chart. Okay, on one side put sympathetic, on the other side put parasympathetic. So the sympathetic side, write down every single thing in your life that is stressing you out. And on the other side, your parasympathetic side, write everything in your life that you're doing to combat that stress. And most often when I do this practice with clients, what happens? Well, the side that's sympathetic stressors, it's completely full. And the side of parasympathetic stressors is empty. Well, no wonder you're stressed, right? You're not doing anything to combat your stress. Start working towards getting more of a 1-to-1 ratio there, okay? Because being stressed and having stress is inevitable. But doing something about it, right? Stress management getting into a daily stress management practice, that is something that you have control over that can really help you to combat stress, right? And alleviate it and manage it and just keep you thriving versus feeling like you are just surviving. Okay. So I hope this helps. As always, thank you so much for the questions. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you so much for being engaged and just the support that you have shown. If you have not heard or seen throughout all the social media platforms here, I am doing Summer Shred 2023. This is the 5th year of us doing this. I will be documenting and sharing literally everything that has to do with Summer Shred this year. So get into the Facebook group. If you're just listening on this podcast, make sure you're following me on social media. You have an opportunity to literally go through the coaching process for free. So summer's right around the corner. If you want to feel your best, look your best, be your most confident self, feel the most comfortable in your skin here this summer, this challenge is for you. Summer Shred 2023. Let's get it. All right, guys. Y'all have an amazing day, and we will chat here soon. Thanks, guys.